Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be giving you a tutorial on Starcraft Editor about making the drop pods for the Nova units. Now, you can make this for any units, both land and air. The most important thing is you need to at least have a little bit of knowledge how everything works. If you don't, I'll explain it to the best of my abilities. Another thing is you're going to have to use dependencies for your mod. The advantages of dependencies is you get to load up all the units for a specific thing, like the campaign, co-op, or even arcade, depending if it's like a Blizzard mod or not. The disadvantage of loading multiple dependencies in it is the more dependencies you load in, the more funny things you're going to find. And I'll explain that a little later. So open up a new map and go to new and go to dependent mod. So this is the mod we'll be using. It's its own standalone thing. Now go custom, modify, and add standard. Right, so we're going to not touch any of this and go into void multi-mod. And we're going to go to co-op mod. Actually, we won't even put this in. We'll just go co-op by itself. Get that? Because that will load in all of this, right? See that there? These are all the mods that the co-op mission depends on. And this is what our mod's going to depend on as well, is all these. Press OK. Once that's done, press OK. So that will start loading in the mod. Now, for anyone who has not used the Starcraft editor before, you need to understand, or even people who have used the Warcraft 3 editor, it's very, very, very stringy. For example, this thing, in order to make the drop pod, right, this thing needs to go to this thing, and this thing needs to go to this thing, and this thing needs to go to this thing, and then finally you can do whatever. This applies with everything to actors, which are like the model sort of thing, actors, buildings, effects, weapons, as well as the weapon special effects, as well as to even warping in stuff. And if like something goes wrong, like let's just say here, if you're inexperienced, it might be a lot harder to identify problems. Like for example, I was mucking around with the tech labs, and it took me like an hour to just figure out what was going wrong because it wasn't landing properly. So just keep in mind, in order to make something in the Starcraft editor, there's no quote-unquote lazy way. You want to make sure all your coding, not really coding, all your editing is clean and clear. And that's going to save you a lot of time because the Starcraft editor consumes a lot of time. Alright, now that we've got that out of the way, let's start. So we're on this blank screen here, and let's put this back to player one. Don't worry about that. Okay, go to data, right? So this is where we're going to be making our unit. So, for the drop pods, it starts with effects, then goes to behavior, and then it goes to unit, and then it goes into our ability. So let's start with our effect. So, we're going to be copying the Black Ops Marine spawner. So, I'm going to type in Black Ops Marine spawner, create, and set. There's two ways of doing this. There is creating it from scratch, like making another copy, or duplicating. Now, I want to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of duplicating a unit, right? If you know how to use the editor, and you know how everything works, duplicating is totally fine. I watched some tutorials before telling like new people to duplicate. Don't do it unless you know exactly what you're doing, because like even if they show you how to duplicate, if you try and do it by yourself, then you might screw things up. Because like if I'm a new person, I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh man, I need to duplicate this, that, and that, and that, right? What you're essentially doing is you're copying pre-existing things, and the more you copy, the more strange things start to happen. I guess to put it simplistic. If you know what you're doing, then it's fine. Like if I've made a Black Ops drop pod, like 100 times, then I know exactly which ones to press. I'm not going to do it for this video because I don't want to confuse everyone. We're going to make it from scratch and we're going to make it clean. Now, I just want to let you know, when we put a dependency for co-op into our mod, for some reason the menu button disappears. I haven't been able to work around that. I'm sure some people are smart enough and some people in the comments might tell you. Alright, so we're going to add an effect, right? Now, we're going to call it, I want to put in the Turan Marine. So you can put in any unit you want. You can put in like Zerglings, Terran, Protoss, hybrids, whatever you want. For this, I'm going to put in maybe a hybrid. So, because we've put in the campaign stuff, there's going to be 100 in here. I'm going to put in hybrid behemoth void. Yeah, this big guy. I want to drop him from the sky. So, I'm going to pretty much copy this. So, hybrid black ops spawner create, and then our ID. So if we're looking for this in a hurry, or like something goes wrong, we can just do that. So what effect type is this? This is very simple. It is create unit, because this is the one we're going to use here. For the prefix, put custom. So when we go back later, we can find our custom units effects and everything a lot easier. It's for data, it's data entry, it's a lot easier. Don't make things harder on yourself, make things easier. Whenever you make a new unit, put custom. If you make a lot of new units, put it for like the faction as well, so you can put like custom Nova, custom Reina, blah blah blah, but I'm not going to do it for this example. Now, we need to choose one to copy from, so I'm going to copy the Black Ops spawner for the Marines, right? Marine Black Ops spawner, create unit. Put that there, and just go OK. We don't want to touch this one. However, we want to modify this one, right? So this is going to be the unit that comes down from the drop pod. So I'm going to put in my hybrid. Ew. Hybrid. Hybrid B, where is this void? I don't think there's a cold one for Behemoth. But yeah, I'll just put him in. Now, these are the two things we need to look at here, right? So this is the range. We don't really want to touch this. Now, the count. So this is how many hybrids come down, or how many of your units come down. So for the Marines, normally 4 drop. We can modify this to any amount. We can put this from like 0 to 500. So I'm going to put in 10 hybrids drop. So this is the first part. So remember how I said everything needs to attach to another thing. So now we need to create the set, right? So add effect and hybrids black ops spawner set. And then we're going to go down to set here, custom, and then we're going to find our Marine set here to copy from. Awesome. So now we've done that, we want to change this. So we don't need to touch any of this, right? So this is taking away the food. This is I think it's killing the drop pod. And this one, because if we remove that one, then the drop pods will just infinitely stay on the map, I believe. So now we want to find our hybrid. So I can't find it here, so I'm just going to type in custom. So that's a very, very important thing to do. So create unit, create. Awesome. So we don't need to touch any of this stuff now. Behaviors. Add behavior. We're going to go, so Black Ops Marine spawner. So this is a buff. Why? I do not know. Hybrid Black Ops spawner. Change that to that. Buff. And custom. custom again because we want to make things a lot more cleaner and easier to find in the future if you want to modify stuff. If you don't change it to that and you have like a bunch of dependencies or it should be marine, sorry. If you have a bunch of dependencies, then it's going to be a lot harder to find things in the future, especially if you have like multiple factions, multiple units, or multiple like void rays. If you make like a bunch of factions that have like the same unit, it's going to be very hard to distinguish what from what. So we don't need to touch any of this stuff. We need to go into effect because we're going to load in the effect. So spawner set. Don't go create. If you go to create one, they're just going to like teleport there. And we don't want that. We want them to like to drop in with the drop pods, right? So we go hybrid. If you can't find hybrid in here, then I'll just go custom. Yep, custom. Custom spawner set. Easy done. Now we have to make the unit, right? So we've got the behavior, which links to the effects, and the effects drop the drop pod in. Now we need a unit to properly create. So how the Nova barracks works, or the Nova training for the barracks works, is it uses a unit rather than the effects, because you can't call in an effect, you have to call in a unit. So if we look here, so, Marauder, Marine, Black Ops, Marine, Spawner. I don't think it's here. Unless I'm blind. Probably am blind. Marine, Spawner. SPAWNA. Yeah, Banshee underscore Black Ops Spawner Unit. Marine underscore Black Ops Spawner Unit. Oops. So now we go, so you can just press on any one, you don't have to specifically press on the marine unit. Go add new unit and go hybrid. I'm just going to do it exactly how it is, just so like if I want to like use this hybrid as a faction in the future, like put this hybrid in the faction, they're all just there rather than like separating them. Object family, you just want to go like Terran other, because this is just the drop pod. It makes things a lot easier to find, and I'll show you why soon. Marine underscore spawner unit. Bam. It's very simple. Now, we don't need to touch any of this because this is not really a unit, this is just the drop pod coming in. So we're going to press on Marine Spawner Unit and change it to, let's go custom because easy to find. Custom Hybrid Spawner Unit. Now, we've made the drop pod. Now, how do we get the drop pod to go with the barracks? I'm going to press buttons, right? Let's make our button first. So normally you put in train marine, train hybrid, blah blah blah, but because it's going from Nova's unit faction, they're all deployed because they get deployed from the sky. Hybrid, and then go custom. So it's not really necessary to copy a button, but just for simplistic reasons, we're going to do that just because some people might not know what things to edit. So this is the name, right? So you'll find that if you edit this text box here, it'll edit the one down here. So let's go, let's just make a description. Big red boy that loves chunky. Not chinky, chunky. Alright, yeah, sure. Now, this is the most important one, because that's going to be the one like in the barracks that you'll see. This one's small. I believe this is for score screens as well as like if some people have some user interface things. So, we're going to find the icon, and you might look at this and say, oh, it's going to be so hard to find the icon. It's actually really easy. It's all these BTN buttons here, right? So, the hybrid itself, I don't think has a button. Let's go Behaviour. Moth. Collection mothership. Yeah, I don't think it has a button. It should do. Let's just check. Hybrid. So we can also do a wireframe as well. Like a lot of units in the game that you use won't actually have a proper like unit button because they're just not meant to be built. So I'm just going to use this one for now, right? You can edit yours later. You can just I believe there was a button. I used it in my other mod before. I'm getting a bit of OCD, but I don't want to get too sidetracked. So either find it in the BTN area or the wireframe area. So like when you go to like attack these units and stuff, they'll all be here. Whatever. I'm just gonna put this one here, and I'm gonna change this to a hybrid here. If you're not really concerned, then it doesn't matter. Okay, so now we've got our hybrid button. Let's continue on. So we've got the button ready. So let's go to abilities. So Terran units use barracks, like barracks train, right? So you got barracks train, Nova co-op, and Tigus, whatever his name is pronounced. I believe Tehaka also has a barracks as well as Stukov when it comes to training, even though they're two different ways. So the most important thing if you're doing drop pods is you cannot use the normal barracks. You have to use the barracks train Nova co-op because the spawning systems or the training systems are completely different. These sort of use a warp-in way, and the other one just uses the generic spawn from the barracks, right? So you have to type in a lot of information down here, right? So you can either pause the video and copy it from mine, or you can do what I normally do, is like button restricted, right? That's the only thing, these two things here is the only two things I need to remember. All this stuff down here. So I'm going to use my snipping tool, and I'm going to do this, so I can just manually type it in myself. Right, saves time because if I'm going like checking, oh I forgot a number, I'm gonna have to do it lots and lots and lots. However, if I use a snip tool, it's easy. So we're gonna load in our button, right? Hybrid, custom deploy hybrid, right? And this is the requirement. So you can put in a requirement. So let's just say you're gonna do it like normal. So have, I don't know, fusion core, because you know they're powerful. Have fusion core, there it would be. But I'm not going to put in a requirement because I just want to show you as a tutorial. So another thing you need to remember is if it's not a playable unit from multiplayer, campaign or co-op, it will probably cost 0, right? If you're making a pre-existing unit like, for example, a Marine, just a standard Marine, deployable by the barracks that Nova uses, it will initially cost 50, right? Because that's how much it costs. It's in the unit section, but don't worry about that for now. If you're using a custom unit like the hybrid, they're unplayable in the campaign, it will cost 0, so you can just deploy it in for free. Now, I don't want that. I want to make it cost 100 and Vespian, I don't know, 50. Just change it to however you want. Now let's start to copy this. So we need to put restricted up here. Now I haven't actually found any problems with not adding restricted in, but we want to make it as clean as possible. So charge count max, right? So this is the maximum things it will stack up to. So if you leave it, you don't use the hybrids, or you make it require the fusion core at the very beginning of the game, it can go to a maximum of 5 at a time, just waiting there, ready to get deployed. Starting count 1, charge time, or charge 1. So starting, we put 1. So at the beginning of the game, it will just start with 1. You get 1 ready to go. Now, you only want to put one here because, like, if you put any more than one here, it'll take 2 from your 5. Like, it'll consider it 2, and that's not good. Okay, next thing is the charge link. Now, you cannot leave this the way it is. The reason why is because you will find if you copy the Elite Marines or keep it this, it will, think of it like this. If this charge is being taken out of this. If you leave this the way it is and you make like 6 units, they'll all consider to be a part of this. So even though you use one of the hybrid and you have like a Tauren Marine, you use one hybrid, it will come out of all 6. Now, it'll taken out of the Tauren Marine, so if you have 5 hybrid, it'll drop down to 4 if you deploy one, and we'll also have 5 Tauren Marine, and it'll drop down to 4. So you want to change this to anything, right? Anything you want, but because we want to make things clean, I just want to make barracks train hybrid. So you can also like look at the other ones as well to see how they do it. Now let's check back here. 555. Yeah, train Nova Marine. Player 300. So let's talk about this, right? So ability and behavior, and I believe unit is just like by itself. So like if you have like 60 different barracks and you put it in like ability or behavior, those 60 barracks could all deploy hybrids and it will come out of their own banking system. However, if you put it to player, the player is the bank. So if you have 60 barracks and you have like 5 charges ready and you deploy one, all of them will be taken out essentially of like one charge. Starting times, so charge time, so how long it will regenerate. So I'm going to put in 300, so like the refresh rate is 300. Time charge, time use, I guess it's the same thing. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Time start, time use. So like at the beginning when you start the game, it will start 300, tick down to 0, as well as like it takes 300. Right, so none of this stuff, nope. Cooldown link, I would also copy this as well, just because we don't want to make it get taken out of other things in the future. If you plan on just making one unit, then by all means just leave it, but if you're making more than one unit, then I would definitely change that. Okay, so next thing we want to do is find our hybrid. So like that, done, done, easy done. So now it's in our thing. So before we continue, I just want to let you know that you have to use the normal barracks unless you have your own custom barracks. Actually, you can use anything, right? You can put this on a hatchery, nexus, a forge, whatever. But what I mean is Blizzard are very, very, very lazy when it comes to making custom structures. For example, the Nexus from the Nexus warp gates, as well as the Nova barracks command center, they're all just reskins essentially. They put a bit line of coding at the beginning of each co-op mission that just literally just switches it. There's no unique buildings or anything. The only commanders who have unique stuff is the ones that are late, like the later ones. For example, Vorazun, Titus, Han and Horner to a degree, as well as Stetman, Minsk, and I believe there's another one as well. But it's all the newer ones. None of the beginning ones like Raynor, Kerrigan, Swan, Alarak, as well as the Purifiers, I forgot the name. Phoenix, they don't have their own buildings because they were just reskinned, which is very lazy. Very, very lazy. Okay, so we want to add our unit in. So we go back to the unit section, go into barracks, and we go down to our hybrid button, custom deploy hybrid. Yeah, so if you've loaded in the dependencies right, then there should be like train cohort, mercenaries, Minsk co-op, and barracks as well. Um, Essentially, we want to find the barracks for Nova. If it's not in here, you can just search it here, like so. So just for example, barracks train, so it's warp train, so you've got all the different types of train there. Yeah, and just add it in that way if you haven't. So what I mean is, like, for example, it's like deploy elite marines here, deploy elite marauder here. So you don't need to do this, but like this is just an example of how lazy it is with like making co-op units. Okay, so we've got the button here, but it's just doing nothing at the moment. So we go ability and command, ability, barracks Nova, and then bam, deploy hybrid. And that's literally it. We've done it. So I'm gonna save this. I'm just gonna call it hybrid deploy test. I don't know. Alright, now I'm going to open up a test. I'm going to go Black Ops test map. So you can just make a new map. It doesn't matter which map you choose, as long as it's a playable map, essentially. Just wait for this to load. Alright, so once it is loaded, we want to go here, right? So I've just got a random map loaded. So we go dependencies, right? We're going to just load it in. We're going to just slot it in like a hard drive in a computer. Black Ops pack. So we want to find our mod. I have like 1,000 because I do a lot of testing. Oh no, we want the hybrid one. Wrong map. So we want to go hybrid deploy test. Here we are. Sometimes it might crap itself. There we are. Press OK. And then we load it in. It might take a little bit. What else can I talk about during this time? So, I found the more mods you put in, the more crazy stuff starts to happen because there's triggers as well as some other effects and stuff. Just to let you know, probably save your co-op mod locally. If you use the Blizzard client one, the one that stays continually online, every single time they edit either the campaign, co-op, or any like quick hot fix patches, you're going to find your mod constantly gets tweaked. And that is not really a good thing because, for example, if you have like a medic in one slot, like for example, you might have yours set up like this, and for example they might update it, and they might update like the co-op, you'll find all your buttons get misplaced, you might find abilities missing, so save things locally. Now we just put in our barracks, right? So I can just chuck down a barracks here. I'm going to put a marine here because I'm going to put minerals on the ground so I don't have to wait like 3 hours to collect the amount of minerals I need. So this is for testing purposes. I just want to have enough overlords. I believe hybrids don't count as food. You're going to have to fix it up yourself. I'll teach you in another video how to do that. Okay, so I'm going to put a bunch of overlords here because I want them to deploy. So I'm going to put in some zerglings, right? It's 2 zerglings. I'm just going to make up a story that blah blah blah. The amazing aim on it, beautiful hybrids. Stop the invasion of cheeky boys. Yeah, look at all these zerglings. Alright. They're going to have a bloody field day with this. Okie dokie. So, now that we've done that, I don't think we need to do anything else. So, I'm going to test the document. Hopefully it works out. Waiting. Yeah, so save things locally, and once you've copied everything and you have a better understanding of the Starcraft editor, you can then later on unload the mod and be a lot more safe. Because like, see, even this, right? You can see the map is not there. And I'm also playing as the mecha. So okay, so I'm gonna put him here, get some minerals, and yeah, see, deploy hybrid. So we're just gonna put bam. So God knows how many to put in, and there we are. You've done it. It's that easy. Yeah, they do definitely count. So that's how you make drop pods. It's very simple, very easy, and there's not really much else to say. Just be careful when using co-op dependencies, because you definitely find that a lot of things go strange. But if you're just doing it for some fun, or you want to play with a mate or whatever, by all means, if you want to make the most perfectly balanced, non-broken mod, then you're going to have to learn a bit more about the editor for that. Alright, that is it, everyone. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. It does help out. I got my 230 subscribers or something. Very loyal people. Haven't uploaded in 3 years. It's great fun, great fun. And yeah, alright. Thank you, and subscribe, and I'll see you later.